Greetings from Star, Idaho, and it's Thursday morning, so it's time to stamp. So I'm glad you're here. So we've got a couple people that have popped on. Kat is here, awesome. Good morning, Kat. Anybody else? It takes a second for it to populate on my screen who's here, but say hello and join in the fun today. Be sure to make lots of comments. Hello, Madeline. Good to see you here. Good morning, Kat. Good morning. Thank you for doing that. That helps me out to know who's here. Okay, so officially, let's say good Thursday morning and welcome to Seeing Ink Spot's Backstage Pass, where today we are focusing on the New Horizons paper and a wildlife stamp set of your choice, officially for our Use It Up class. Okay, so I had a bunch of good mornings there and hellos. So Julie, Sherry, I'm just scrolling back, Linda, awesome to have you here. Thank you for joining. This is gonna be a really cool class because this New Horizons paper, which we are using up, is fabulous. I said it before when we did our On the Horizon bundle, but man, is this great paper because it's beautiful for backgrounds. Hello, Nicole, good to see you here. It's beautiful for backgrounds. Oh, Denise, Bernie, glad you're here too. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, you must not have school. Is that what you had said? Anyhow, so happy to have you here, and I'll see you next week in the Zoom room. And so going back to the New Horizons paper, it's great for backgrounds. We know that, right? But it's also fabulous for stamping on for focal images because it gives you instant coloring. And so you'll see that today in the class, and we'll get right to it. So I say let's flip the camera and get our fingers inky and sticky and have a good time. So here we go. As I say, here comes the hand, all right? There's the hand. I wish there was a smoother way to transition, but I haven't figured that out. Oh, you guys, you're gonna hate me, but I am going to have to give my, excuse this, but I can see things are there we go, now we're clear. I needed to do a little 2-second tidy on my camera screen, or my camera lens rather. Okay, so right away, let's bust into the, my voice is cutting out. I'm not quite sure why. Everything's plugged in and we're good. Other people and Linda, keep filling me in and letting me know if that's still a problem. Anyhow, so moving right along. Excuse me. Coming up, technique time. Next week will be our pickup class. This is bring your own supplies, and I am going to be using the Honeybee Home Bundle. This will be at 10 a.m. right here, 1 week from today. And so we'll have some fun. We're just gonna do some artfully avid cards and some pretty stuff using that bundle, okay? And then the week after that, be sure to sign up. As you know, time is running out for you to either purchase or qualify for a cup of tea bundle. Those of you who attended the He's the Man stamp camp and you had option number 2, which was the higher option price-wise, you earned this class, okay? You've got that class for free. So that will be coming to you. But for those of you who didn't, this is going to be cool. We're going to be taking a deep dive into that bundle and a little bit into the in colors, possibly. I might totally diverge and do something entirely different because I'm seeing so many cool things using this bundle and different colors other than the in colors that are kind of, because this suite here focuses on the new in colors. So we'll see. I haven't designed the class yet, but it's going to be cool. It's going to be super cool because there's great stuff in this bundle. Okay, Pick of the crop, that is the next paper pumpkin. And that will be July 7th, 10 o'clock, Thursday morning. So should we still RSVP? It helps me out, Nicole, if you do RSVP, but I already do have everybody down that ordered that, okay? So you're already in the list, but yeah, if you want to, great. If not, I've got you down, and this kind of will suffice too. Okay, so, and then a few people have asked when the next camp is. The next camp is August 19th. And then the 25th through the 27th, we will have a game night. And then we will have an intensive stamp camp the 25th through the 27th. Hi, Mom. Or I should say, hello, Mother. She's here. She is watching. Okay, so this will be a fall fest. And Ring of Nature will be the focus bundle. But it's going to be cool. It's going to be super cool. So on with the show. Today, we are using up the New Horizons, as I mentioned, and I am stamping with this Wildlife Wonder stamp set. And it's a cool set with this guy being, I mean, come on, you stamp him and it's just like, whoa! It's such a beautiful image. But if you don't have this set, never fear. There are other things. Let me show you. And you may not have this one either. I'm just going to bring in this year's catalog. And this is a set called Wild and Sweet, okay? I think this one would work. You're just gonna kind of be doing a little bit of a different approach. You might be cutting the tree back and that sort of thing, but this would be cool, or something like it. So you kind of get the flavor of where I'm going. These aren't cute stamps, you know. I'm trying to do something that's a little bit more realistic. This is last year's catalog. And so this is Nature's Beauty, but maybe you have something similar. So just go, oh yeah, now I get what she's saying. So we're looking for wildlife and for something a little bit more, not fancy, but not cute line art. You know, we want a little bit more of a sophisticated look, if you know what I mean, Vern. Okay, so you should all have your Use It Up kit. So let's bust that open and dive right in. And so what I want to do first, and I have to do this for myself, and I think it'll be helpful for you, but that is to identify, because some of these pieces of paper can look very, very similar, but identify which paper is going to go with which card base. So for now, these goodies right here on top from the white up, let's just set those aside, okay? And so our different cards that we'll be making, we're going to be doing a Night of Navy card and a Evening Evergreen and a Gray Granite, okay? So what I want to do is put the papers that I'm going to use with each of these so that I don't kind of mess up, okay? So let's see here. All right, so for the Gray Granite, it's going to be this piece right here on top, or it might not be your top, but it might be. So it's this one. It has kind of Gray Granite, Evening Evergreen, and you're looking for this kind of little lake or pond or whatever you see that as. The back of it is all, you know, kind of a marbly Evening Evergreen, okay? So that is going to be the paper that we're going to use on this card. So we're going to set that one aside so we don't accidentally cut into it, okay? And then we are going to find the one for the Evening Evergreen here, okay? And so the Evening Evergreen, let's see. I think it's this one. Yes, I know it is. Okay, so this one has kind of a bright old olive, then into Evening Evergreen, and then some swaths of Blackberry Bliss, and the back is a blend of Evening Evergreen and Old Olive and Mossy Meadow, okay? So let's set that one aside. And for the Night of Navy, the Night of Navy is going to get, let me see here, I have to pull the card out, make sure I grab the right one. This one right here. Here it comes, that one. So you're looking for that piece. And I'll show you the back in just a second here. I dropped another one on the floor. So it's this one, okay? There's one very similar to it, okay? This one's very similar, but we're not gonna use that. This one, and the back of this is blue, okay? So we're going to use that. I got a frog in my throat. Okay, these other 3 pieces, we will be using these. We're gonna be stamping on these because these make great, you stamp your images and cut them out and they're colored in a really cool fashion. So now that we have that done, since we have the Knight of Navy out, why don't we work on this card first? Haha, brilliant idea, right? Okay, so the first thing we are going to do with this card is we're gonna trim it up so that we have our designer series paper just as we would like it to be. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna trim this piece down. So grab your trimmer. And so the piece goes this way, and we are making a landscape card here, but I'm gonna turn this and I'm going to put this, so I'm not cutting it at 4 1/4. I am going to cut it at, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 3/16, okay? So I'm coming in, so it's gonna leave a very, 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 very faint navy border. So 4 3/16. So what that is it's 1 tick mark in from 4. I did it the wrong size. 3/16, I just did mine totally the wrong size. Shoot, queen. Okay. So it should be 4 3/16. I just did mine at 4 15/16. Okay, do yours at 4 3/16 so it leaves just a very, very faint navy blue border, okay? Because that's the way my original is. All right, so now I'm just gonna have to kind of go with this and I'm gonna size mine just a little bit different. Now turn it so that it's upside down, okay? And we're going to trim that. You want to trim yours to that 7/16. So you wanna be just inside 5 1/2. But since I blew mine, I'm gonna go down just a little bit more to size mine to fit correctly. Darn it all. Shoot, queen. Don't worry about this piece. You can use it on something if you like, but we are going to use this one for this card, okay? And so while we're here, we're going to trim this to 4 1/4, okay? And you decide which end of the piece you like better. It doesn't totally matter. 4 1/4, okay? So you can set that aside. So these 2 pieces will be for our card. And grab your Knight of Navy card base. And we're going to make, I call this a kickstand card. I did it in our last class, as well as He's the Man. But I really like this, so we're gonna do it again. So we're gonna put our card in at 1 inch. Okay. It makes for some nice dimension. And for this, we're gonna use kind of like a, on the inside, we're gonna make a little, not a pocket, but like a sleeve. Okay, so I've gone to the score line. So hopefully you guys can see that. So slice just to the score line. So at 1 inch, you're gonna go down to the score line. So you're cutting like so, okay? Now move this over to 3 1/8, okay? 3 1/8, and you kind of have to make sure that this is still, you don't want it to like pucker out or scooch in. Butt it up, make sure it's still level, and go to 3 1/8 and make the same cut we just did. About that frog that won't go away. And you're gonna go to your score line, okay? All right, so that's our cutting. We are done with all of that. Voila. Okay, so now while we're here, this is the kickstand part. We have that kind of shuffled off to the back there. You're gonna take your piece, and now your piece should come all the way to the, almost to the edge, and you should have barely anything showing if you cut it right, instead of goofy like me. Okay, so we're gonna glue that to this piece and this piece. Make sure you don't put any glue that's going to get there. So in order to do that, what you could do is, here's your piece, is you could flip this over onto its back, and then you can kind of see right where your glue needs to be. And speaking of glue, I forgot to bring mine. Oh, that's not good. So I will use this. Okay, so this here, did I tell you about this the other day, you guys? We were at an auction and I found a box of this stuff. 66 of them, and I bought it for 15 bucks. I thought it was a good score. Okay, I'm gonna have to go get glue though, because I'm not used to, man, I thought I had everything. I say that every week, right? Okay, so as you set this down, okay, the one thing you wanna do is sometimes this side, because it's a little bit wobbly, it might want to kick inward, but you wanna make sure that it's square, okay? So that it's not, like if here's the edge, it's not doing this, but that it's lined up. And then by the time you glue your piece on, it will be just fine, okay? So see, I have no glue there. Okay, so this piece that we cut off earlier, now mine's too wide because remember I cut mine wrong, so I am gonna trim mine down. Yours should already be trimmed down, okay? So I am going to take, because I cut mine 1/4 of an inch too big, or small rather last time, I have to trim mine down. Okay, so this piece here, you're going to set right like that. But when you glue it on, okay, so you should have this lighter blue and then you have this darker blue. What I want you to do when you glue it on is to just glue, okay? I am just putting adhesive on the ends so that when I slip this on, okay, now this will be more of like a sleeve, so to say. So you could easily slip a gift card in there and let it hang out, or you could put in you know, a handwritten message. Of course, you're going to put a message down here. But anyway, so you could utilize that if you want. Okay, so that's why I left mine that way. Okay, so this is good. Now our construction moving right along. We are going to need to, we're going to do some stuff, but we actually need to go to one of our other pieces and make a cut. And I have to figure out which one it is. Hold on just a second there, Baba Louie. I'm trying to remember how I did this. Using these different pieces. Okay, so from the pieces we didn't cut, I believe it's not that one. You know, they all start to look the same, so it's like, oh, which one is it then? Hold on. It's this one. Okay, so this one here, that we had that, this one was for your gray granite card. Do you remember this one? What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut off this top section right here. Okay, so what I want to do is we're gonna cut off, we're gonna do the same measurement we did on the first card, okay? So let me get the right measurement. Instead of 4 1/4, you wanna be just inside. So 4 3/16. So if you take that and trim that down, okay? So this will still be for our gray granite card, so set that aside. But it's this piece right here that's green on the back, and there's not a whole lot of color left on here. This is the piece that we want for the kickstand portion of our card, okay? So we are going to trim this to 4 1/4. And I'm gonna keep some of this color here, so I'm gonna trim this end off, okay? So I'm trimming off of this end. Okay, so 4 1/4. And set that aside in case you want to use it. We're not gonna use it today. All right, now we have all the pieces we need. I knew there was one more. I'm like, wait a minute. So that's where we should be, okay? So let me just flip this over. It should be evening evergreen. But there you go. Hello, Alicia, good to have you here. How are things going with the move? The packing, the unpacking? Okay, so let's get into some stamping. So we are going to use some gray granite here on this card for setting up our scenery. And there's a great image in the Wildlife Wonder set, and it's this one. This is great for making kind of like the New Horizons set. It's great for making water, for making grass, for making just, you know, it's a great way to add gravity to a card, to put the ground in there, okay? And I'm also going to use, there's a, like a little wildflower image. Let me see if I can, here it is. So here is the image, okay? So I'm looking for that one. So let's do some stamping here first. And what I'm gonna do is stamp this piece here. And I maybe should have stamped it before I glued it, but I don't think I did before, which is why I didn't this time. But I did it because I'm so close to the edge on my original, which you should be as well, since I stamped wrong. I'm gonna just go ahead and mask this off, okay? Hello. Daffy Dum, that's okay. That's okay. So there, we've got that masked off just a little bit there. Okay, so gray granite, and I'm gonna use full strength ink here, and I'm going to, gee, many Christmas. I was trying to move it further up into the screen for you to see, and it took my Post-it notes. Okay, there you go, sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna use this at full strength and at half strength. So at full strength, I'm gonna stamp right on that edge, okay? And then I'm gonna ink it up. Now stamp off, so you can just stamp off on your Post-it note. And I'm gonna turn it so it's not the same direction and just kind of add a little bit more right there, okay? And let's do the same thing, only this time I'm gonna come over the edge, okay? And I'm just gonna do a little bit right in there and go off the edge. So I'm just kind of creating a little bit more, you know, just a little bit more stuff down here on the bottom where I can have these little wildflowers growing. So this is ground. I don't know what it is, if it's river or whatever. So I'm gonna do one full strength and then maybe, you know, half strength, right, like so. Just creating some different looks. Okay, and I want one right up in here. Oops, that one's floating. Another one. Maybe stamp this one off. And let me come off the edge here, bring it down a little lower so that they're not all at the same height. And since this one seems to be floating a little bit, I'm gonna come in here and then just do, so I didn't have to do this before, but just a little bit of ground in there. Now it's kind of attached to something. So I've just got a little bit of scenery growing in here. Okay, I think I'm gonna do one more. Nice and strong. Okay, just have some fun with that. And we need to, we'll get rid of this for now, bring this piece in, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're going to stamp this image here. Okay, and I might as well do this to keep my scratch paper fairly tidy since we're at the beginning of class. And this one, I'm going to, I have most of the decor of this piece, you know, most of the background paper. It's almost white over here, and then I have the color over here on this side. So I'm gonna stamp this guy right down at the bottom, like so. And now I'm just gonna kind of do a swath of these on a kind of like a left bent arc here. So I'm gonna come here, and that's okay if it goes off the edge of the page. There's one. I'm gonna do another one kind of right up in here. If this overlaps, that's okay. I caught an edge, that sucks, but it's okay because there's actually gonna be some stuff over that. Okay, and so I'm just gonna kind of keep stamping these. See, look, I got rid of that edge. Yoo-hoo! I didn't follow my own rule, which is check it before you wreck it, right? And one more right up in here, and maybe even one more right there. And, you know, kind of turn them. So we're gonna have stuff that covers this, and we're only gonna see this kind of bend. So just this edge right there. Okay, so there we have it. We have that stamping done. Let's go ahead and we're going to attach this here. Let's just glue that on there. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, let's get this on nice and straight here. Well, I'm not doing such a great job getting it centered. Okay, there we go. Move that on. So now you have some different layers here that we're playing with. So we have our front, our middle, and the inside. Okay? So now let's get stamping the stars of this card. So we're going to need some background paper here. We're going to use some of this designer series paper as our paper to be stamping our images, okay? And for this one, I am going to stamp, so it's this piece of paper right here, okay? Can you see this one? So it's the one that's got purple on the back, okay? That's the one we're going to stamp with for right now. And we're going to stamp a couple images. We're going to stamp the owl. We're going to stamp the wolf. I guess it's a wolf. And we're going to stamp the bear. So I'm going to use all three of these images on this card, okay? So, but in Liz fashion, we're going to ink them up with a couple colors here. So I'm going to use some Night of Navy, and I'm going to use some Blackberry Bliss, and have on hand a blending brush so that you can kind of blend and smooth out your lines there. Okay, so for this bear, not the bear, but like for these other images here, these guys right in here. So let's stamp this wolf first, and I'm going to ink it up in Night of Navy at the bottom. Okay, let me bring that into view here. So just kind of hit the bottom edge with your Night of Navy. Flip it over on its back. And we'll do a little bit of burgundy, of Blackberry Bliss. Okay, and I just tapped that. And now I just kind of want to blend out and just tap so that those colors kind of blend rather than having a harsh line. And I'm just gonna kind of pick a spot right here on the paper and come down right in there and stamp it. And there you can see, once we cut it out, it'll be a little bit easier to see, but we've got some cool coloring and cool things going on in there. Okay, but before we cut it out, let's do the owl as well. So we're gonna do the exact same thing we just did, and kind of keep it down here, because right in here is gonna be too dark. So let's keep it down below, okay? So this time though, I'm gonna add in a little bit of gray granite. So let me give the owl a little bit of, I need to clean it up. Okay, so ink it all the way up in gray granite. Okay, and a little bit, I'm gonna kind of hit, a portion of it in the navy. Okay, so it kind of looks like weirdness right now. And I'm gonna take a little bit and I'm gonna try and tap. I'm trying not to hit the rock or the log that he's sitting on. I don't know, is that a rock or a log? And then just take your blending brush and just pounce the color to blend it all together. Give a huff on it. And then just stamp it right down there by the wolf. And there you have it. Okay? So it's kind of, we've made our own color ink. It's, Night of Gray Blissberry. So we're just kind of doing our own thing there. I'm going to set these aside. And I'm going to fussy cut these two images. So hopefully you guys are stamping along with me, because this is going to take me a second here to cut these out. I would much rather prefer, and I'm just going to do kind of a loose cut on this just so that I can get some of this so it's not quite so vulsum. I'm not working around so much paper, so I'm just clearing some of it away. But I would much rather fussy cut an irregular image like this than say a perfectly rounded circle or, rounded flower petals that are all equally the same, because then you have to make it look really, really good. This you can kind of go in at it, and if you have little imperfections, they don't show, which is a good thing. Okay. Any questions so far? Shoot them out. So we're going to have quite a bit of fuzzy cutting today. So we need some topics of discussion. Any ideas? Okay, so I'll shoot one out since no one's talking. How about national parks? Favorite national parks? Okay, ones by you that we may not know about. Love to hear about them. I'm not so sure about national parks where I am now. I have been, and it was like, wasn't planning on it, but just kind of happened one day when my son and his wife lived on the other side of the state in Rexburg. They're like, should we go to Yellowstone? And I'm like, well, isn't that like far away? And they're like, no, it's about 2 hours. And so it was really cool. I had no plans of going to see Old Faithful anytime soon. And who knew it? That day I was there at Old Faithful and had never seen it before. So it was kind of cool. So that's a great national park. And to see all of those, you know, are they hot springs? I don't even know what they are, but all over. We drove all over. We got very lost. So Denise Barney says Kings Canyon. Where is Kings Canyon? Tell us about it. And of course, Yosemite. Yosemite's a great one. In fact, one of our puppies here, you know, you already know that I named these puppies, the one litter, after trees. And so the last puppy to be born, we named him Sequoia because he was the biggest. And he is still to this day, of all of the 2 litters, he's bigger than everybody else. He's huge. So his name fits. Kayleen, that's why I am behind 2. I have Nature's Beauty, so I'm going to try, and I didn't catch the order of the, let me see here, navy, gray, and bliss. It doesn't really matter. Just do the gray first because it's the lighter color. Okay? Yeah, and it does take a little bit of going, okay, well, how am I going to do this? So anyhow, let me just kind of show you. This one's going to lay in here, and that's going to lay right in there. Okay? And in your kit there, in your Use It Up kit, you have a piece of, Okay, so you have a piece of, I'm using up, this is the very, very last of my braided trim here. We're going to use that up. And I have an olive circle that was in your kit. This was cut from the All That Dies from the He's the Man. So you're going to need that for this card here. So Denise says King Canyons is next to Sequoia, the south of Yosemite. Okay, so I've been there. I just didn't know the name of it. All those huge, giant, old sequoia trees. That's who I named this puppy after. I should bring him over and show him to you. I mean, his feet are huge. They're huge compared to all the others. He's so funny. Okay. And we're going to tie that around here. So just give it a tie, nothing fancy. I'm going to tie it in a knot because this is a fairly masculine card. Not necessarily for a guy right now, but it's going to be in a few seconds, definitely for a guy when we stamp the greeting. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to slide this over. I'm going to try. I want it on the, so sometimes if you kind of bend your paper just a little bit, it's going to be over here on the right side. Okay, there. Now it's positioned just right. And we can finish the front of this card. Okay, so on this image here, we are going to do just a little bit of blending. So grab your blending brush for olive, and we're going to do just a little bit of just kind of come around and bring this piece of cardstock to life. Okay, just like we did in the Mega Camp, kind of just added a little bit more color to these circles here, and you can see that it just adds just a little bit more depth. It makes it just a little bit more more interesting to have just a little bit of a haze of that color on top of color. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I am going to Oh, don't close your olive. Give it a squeeze. And we're going to take our aqua painter and very, very lightly, we're not going to do a ton, but just do a few little dabs of ink splatter. I mean, I have just like very, very, you see those? Keep it light. We're just adding a little bit more dimension. And the thing with the water and the splatters is it actually adds a very, very faint texture. Craters of the Moon in Central Ohio Central Idaho is a fun visit. Not necessarily a full overnight visit, but cool to see. Okay, I've been there a couple times, Madeline. I've been there in the heat of the summer and in spring. And yeah, I wouldn't want to stay overnight there. I can't believe people want to camp there. It's rather hot and very, very windy. So you know there's a hike where you can hike up to the top of this kind of hill, and you think, oh, that's not very far. But between the height and the wind, it hurt my ears so bad to do that hike. I'm like, ouch. Okay, so let's do a little bit of assembly here. So craters of the moon, yeah, very interesting. It looks like craters of the moon right here on Earth. It's crazy. Okay, grab your dimensionals. Let's put a dimensional on the tail end of this owl and up on his head. Okay, just kind of get them all around on this guy. Now with the wolf, I'm just going to do some across the bottom. It's interesting you've been to craters of the moon. I don't know a lot of people that have been to craters of the moon. Did you do that on your trip to Ohio? Okay, so that's all I'm going to do there. Once this is dry, now we can stamp the greeting. And I'm going to stamp the greeting in Night of Navy. We saw people hiking up that, and I was like, nope. It was so windy that day that I have a video of my mom, and she's leaning into the wind, and it's opening her shirt, you know, because her shirt she had a long sleeve shirt that was unbuttoned. Well, she had another shirt underneath, but anyway, so, but it was crazy how it was blowing her shirt like a parachute, and that she was leaning into the wind and not falling over. It was so windy and so crazy. Okay, so my image is to a great guy, and stamp that over towards the left of your circle there, okay? And the reason I'm doing that is because my wolf here is gonna kind of eke into that area there, okay? So when we set this up, and let's put dimensionals on this guy. Two and three, okay. All right, so I'm actually gonna put this on second, and I'm gonna put this one on first, and then I'm gonna have to tuck some glue underneath it. But that way I know where my circle's going to go. So this little wolf, this little fussy cut image, we're gonna set that right across the bottom there, okay? So I can see I need to kind of move this up and over just a little bit, right there, okay? Now this one is going to go over the braided trim, but under, and it's going to kind of cantilever over the edge. So you need to make sure that you don't have dimensionals showing right there, okay? Oh, 2014 road trip to Yellowstone. So that's when Madeline went there. So I would love to stay longer because we just kind of drove into Yellowstone and then came right back out. But I would love to have explored longer than just the afternoon. Okay, so I don't have my glue with me, so I can't really get my glue under there. But go ahead, put a little glue on scrap paper and just kind of swipe it under there to glue that down. I can't get a tape runner under there. That's going to be impossible. Okay, so then peel these, and he's going to sit at the top of this circle, the top left of the circle. Yeah, Yellowstone was really cool. Okay. And so I'm just going to kind of tuck this. Oops, I've got a dimensional in the way. I've got a dimensional in the way, so I'm just going to trim some of this off so I can sneak him in just a little further. Okay, So that's where this guy is going to sit. Okay, so our front flap is almost done. I just want to take a take your pick tool, and I'm going to use the piercing end, the pointer end. Okay. Ah, yeah, you live 3 hours from the north rim of the Grand Canyon. Yes, you do. All that red rock in St. George is super cool. Okay, so my braided trim, I'm going to trim it down just a little bit. Make them even. Yeah, there's all kinds of great parks down by you, Kayleen. Some really gorgeous ones. Okay, so I'm just using this, if you can't see, I was just trying to hold the knot. I'm just kind of using this to take these and fray this apart. Okay, just kind of pull on that a little bit. Okay, same thing on the other side. Tenaya Lake. I don't know. I've not been there. It sounds pretty. Just about it. Hey, Lolo. I have them shut inside because there were kids outside playing and they were barking like crazy and the puppies were just howling away. And then the kids playing were screaming at the dogs, shut up! So I pulled them all in. Okay, so I've just totally frayed those apart. All right, so there is the start to our card here. But, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. But then I decided I've got to do it. I've got to add a bear. And so we are going to add a bear to this for sure here. And what I'm going to do is take a piece of this paper here, okay? So it's kind of, you know, the one we've been cutting into. I am going to actually cut on this side, stamp on this side this time. But this time I'm going to stamp the bear. And I have the bear set up on my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig. And you'll see why I have it set up on my Stamp-A-Ma-Jig in just a minute here. But for now, I'm just going to stamp on here. I'm just using it as a block, okay? So nothing fancy here with the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig. I just didn't feel like moving it from the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig to a block and back again. So let me get my paper on here straight, okay? And let me slip my piece of paper on here to where I can definitely see the entire bear. Okay, so cover up that bear. So now I know that's gonna fit. So you can just stamp it with a normal block, okay? And I'm gonna ink this up in Night of Navy. Okay. Okay, get the whole thing. Okay, stamp it, ink it up really well. And I'm actually gonna throw in a little bit of Blackberry Bliss on his haunches. So just kind of tapping that in, swipe that off because it's got navy on it. Okay, you could actually go in, since it's on the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig, and do that, clean off all the Night of Navy and do that again. Okay, so there you have it. Gorgeous. I think I want a little bit more burgundy, or not burgundy, but the Blackberry Bliss in this. So since it is set up on the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig here, I'm going to clean off all that Night of Navy. And now I can concentrate just a little bit more of the Blackberry Bliss ink and get kind of a combination of color going here. Okay? And then I'm going to tap this out. Sorry, it's picking up that reflection. I'm just going to tap this out so it's not a harsh line. Okay? And then bring this around. Yeah, cool. So I don't know if you can see it, but it definitely has a two-tone effect. Okay? So it's navy, and then we're going into a little bit of it's almost like a warm navy, a much darker navy, because it's had that second impression. I really like what you can do with the Stamp-A-Ma-Jig, and we're gonna do more with it in just a second. Okay, so we're gonna fussy cut this bear. He's pretty easy to cut out. So Denise and Madeline, when you've and others, when you've been to some of these parks, do you camp or do you just visit for the day and then go to a hotel? Do you RV? Do you tent? I mean, my idea of fun camping is to be there in the day and then have a nice hotel at night where you have a shower and a real bathroom. But we have done a lot of camping. Newell's family loves to camp. Okay, tent camp. Yeah, okay, cool. I do have a really cool tent that I can easily set up by myself that hooks over the back end of my truck. I have a Ford F-150 and it's sized just for that. So you flip the tailgate down and that helps hold it. But it's really cool because then you can kind of just step up and in and set up right in the back of your tent, but you have coverage. Not in the back of your tent, in the bed of your truck is what I meant to say. So you're kind of up off the ground. I feel a little bit more secure that way. And it's easy. I can set it up by myself, which I know there are a lot of tents you can, but I'm kind of not so experienced that way. So Denise, when you tent camp, do you do, like my husband loves to do Dutch oven cooking and his family, his brothers do as well. So lots of ideas for the Dutch oven. It seems like though with camping, you finally just get everything finished, cleaned up, and you're like, oh, we've got to start preparing for the next meal. As a kid, I used to love to camp at Big Basin because it had that stream running through the park, and it was fun to go wading through that and walking over the big trees that have fallen over. Okay, save that piece. We're going to be using more of it. So there's your bear cut out. And so I felt like what this card needed to finish the front was to just kind of sneak him right in there. And then that way, when you lift that, you have a lot of action happening right here. Love Big Basin too. Yes, that's right. So yeah, I'd love to know what kinds of stuff do you do in your Dutch oven. You belong to a group. That's even cooler. That's really cool. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this bear here, I'm going to put dimensionals on this half of him so that he's kind of like coming out this way, but I'm going to glue this side down so that it's underneath and we don't cause too much bulk there in the middle, okay? A Dutch oven group, that's cool. Super cool. Okay, so there's my glue, or tape runner, I should say, and then a couple dimensionals here. So I'm going to do a big there and a mini down here on his paw, on his front paw. Is this a guy or a girl? It looks like a guy to me. Could be a girl. So I'm just going to kind of shut this down so I can see right where I want him to peek out. But he's just going to kind of come right from there. So cool. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Now, on this layer here, we're going to stamp one more greeting. And this time, so it says, to a great guy, you mean so much to me. So here is the image, okay? So, you know, make sure you have your stamp fairly straight on your block. And I'm going to stamp this in Night of Navy. So I'm inking up in Night of Navy. It's off to my side here. And I'm going to stamp that so that it falls behind the kickstand here, okay? So let me just get a little bit more ink there as I was chatting. Let me hold it straight, try and get this as straight as I can. And hopefully it's straight. Yep, much straighter than my first card. So I think that looks good right in there, okay? Kind of fills that upper space. It's covered up, and there you have it, okay? So the inside, though, we're going to do a little bit more decor here. So let me show you the inside of this card. Here is the inside, And so we are going to do another owl on the piece on the background paper here that we're using. And so you can see I do have this free so that I can slip something in there if I wanted. You know, it'd be fun to slip you know, a gift card or, you know, a $20 bill. But I have some more stamping here. So, but let's talk about it. What do you see here? Has anybody picked up on it? Okay, so grab the piece of white from your kit. And we're gonna trim that down to 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so we're definitely gonna do that. We're gonna stamp it, but if you'll notice here, I don't know if you picked up on it, so there's our bear image. We're gonna do a mirror image of the bear, okay, for the inside of this card. So first, let's trim this down to the size we need. Okay, we're gonna trim it down to 5 1/4 by 4. Pretty typical. Okay. Now, the crazy thing about stamping with Night of Navy and Blackberry Bliss, I don't know about you, but those are an evening evergreen. I just kind of get, you know, I get really mucky with those colors for some reason. So just like the front of the card, I am going to, let me get my original out here. We're gonna stamp some of the groundwork in here the same way we did the front. So we'll use gray granite. Okay, and I'm just gonna stamp off the page some. Okay, maybe stamp one off, and I'm gonna rotate the stamp so it's not facing the same direction. Okay, so a little bit like that, and maybe just a little bit more, just having some fun. And then come back in with the little wispy, and I did them in burgundy, in Blackberry Bliss. I keep calling this burgundy, but I think I'm going to do it in the old olive to tie in the front circle that we have on the card. Okay, so we're going to bring some of that green in here and just have some fun adding some of these elements. You don't need a ton. Maybe just a lone one right in there. And then I'm going to leave this open because that's where I'm going to stamp the bear. Okay, so what we're going to need, bring your stamp positioner back in, your Stamparatus, and you're going to need your silicone craft mat, okay? So grab your silicone craft mat, and what you're going to do is place this in your Stamparatus, and I'm just going to kind of put it right there in the corner. And I'm going to put my magnets on it so it stays in place. Magnet right in there so it's not in the way. And I'm going to ink up in Night of Navy. Okay. And I don't think I'm really going to do extra color on this. I'm just going to do Night of Navy. Let me see if I can get that glare off of. I'm going to move this back just a little bit. And a little bit more. Get the glare off. Okay, so ink up your bear, and you're going to stamp it on your silicone craft mat. Hi, Pam. Okay, so I'm just getting that all there. And now I'm going to bring in my white paper, and I'm going to put my white paper down right about like so. Okay, and you need a piece of scratch paper. So let me just grab one of these pieces of paper here. I'll just use this so that you can really give it a rub, but you just don't want to get your fingers on that's, you know, that's not that ink that was showing, because we're just doing a partial image of him like he's walking into the scene. Okay, give it a good rub all the way over everywhere. And now we hope for the best. Pick that up. Ooh, that looks cool. All right, so there's our bear. in reverse image there. So now you can have your animals, if they're facing one direction and they didn't give you a second one going another direction, now you do. Just grab your silicone craft mat. A long time ago, I had an image that, I'm just gonna do a little bit more in here. I had an image, it was a solid rectangle stamp. And it was just big background stamp, solid red rubber. And it was for doing reverse imaging. So it's the same sort of thing, okay? So there's the inside of my panel that's gonna come in on the card here. Okay, I should have made sure that that navy ink was definitely dry before I smear it, okay? Just center this. And now one last detail in here. I did do the owl one more time. Okay, so here's our paper. And let's see here. I think I'm gonna do it kind of right up in here. Okay, let's see, where's my owl image? And I'm gonna do it in just navy. Okay, kind of goes with the bear. I wish it would fit right there, but it won't. So just tuck it way down in here. Okay, cool, and we'll cut that out. So let me just do a real fast, rough cut around this one edge so that I don't have this huge piece of paper I'm trying to maneuver. Then I'll come in and do a quick detail cut. Okay, same drill as before. So sometimes I turn the paper, which is they say, oh, that's how you have to fussy cut. Turn the paper, don't turn your scissors. I do a little bit of both, folks. How about you? I think it depends on the shape. Okay, there's that. And now this is going to glue right there on the inside. But I want to, you know, I just want to make sure that I can still access things. So I'm going to keep things fairly open. So I'm just going to keep it right down here at the bottom. And there you have it. So I love doing, so this is what I call kind of a 3-in-1. Did I huff on the image before? So it depends on how long I have let the image. I was pretty quick to getting there, so I didn't need to huff on it. That's an excellent question. The other thing is it's a little tricky to huff on my silicone craft mat and Stamparatus when I have about a foot between the camera and the Stamparatus itself. So yeah, you might have to, you might not. So anyhow, so there you have it. We have a card inside a card inside a card. Or I should have said a card inside a card inside a card. So before I finish with this though, it is going to get a little bit of some Liz treatment here. And that is I am going to take my gray granite, okay? Because we have so much action going here and this is a little, it's just begging for something. So I am going to do a very, 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 very faint splattering here, okay? And I'm going to lift that up so that the whole thing gets splattered. Just kind of a little bit up top, okay? And while this is open, I'm going to flick it with Wink of Stella as well. And again, Wink of Stella gives just a little bit of texture, just like the little drops do. It's faint, but it's there. And let that dry, and then maybe even a few, let's see if I can do this, keeping that open. I don't think so. It gets one lone drop. Okay. a little bit of splatter there. And we'll flick some of this and let that dry. Okay, the nice thing is I can kind of kickstand it and they can all dry together. So there you have it. Let me set this one aside to dry. I'll bring this one in so you can see. There it is. Okay, same kind of plan there. So that is our first one and done of our wildlife. I'm just going to kind of close up some pads before I put my hand or my project in something. As you know, we have done many times. Just doing a slight little cleanup here so I can find things for our next card. And our next card they're all beautiful and they all have a similar look because we're working with the same color inks, we're working with the same papers and the same stamp images. I am looking for my chamois. Oh, it's under my trimmer so that I can kind of just clean this image because I saw that I caught a lot of edges. Okay, and we can't have that. And let's see here, let's just do this one, get it set aside so I know where to find it. Okay, all right, so our next card that we're going to do, this is a fun card. I like this card, I think it's cool. So this card here is also, it says sending birthday wishes, and I did do a little decor on the inside as well. Okay, and if you look at it, instead of a bow, since it is for a great guy, I've made my own little custom beads. Jolinda, you're watching. How did it go this morning? Hope everything is good. Okay, so for this, you are going to need a couple pieces from your Use It Up kit. Okay, so one of them that you'll need is the gray granite half sheet there, or eighth a sheet rather, and your gray granite card base. And then you will need this piece here is the one that I'd said we would need for this card. Okay, so you're gonna need that. So first things first, let's do some inking up of our timber. So this is the timber, okay? This is the timber 3D folder. You could really use anything. I just thought this was a great look with our theme here. Okay, so I am pre-inking the logo side of my embossing folder. Okay, so pre-ink the embossed, the logo side. Okay, we know it's an embossing folder. So if I shut it, there's the logo right there. Okay, set your paper inside. Okay, and give it a close and send it through your machine. If you were using a Stampin' Cut Emboss machine, you're going to need plate number 1 and plate number 4, or multi-purpose platform and blue plate, depending if you're using a big shop. Okay, and remember to go in fold side of the embossing folder first. So there you have it. I was on a pre-ink your folder binge. I kept using this technique a whole bunch of times quite a while ago, but I do love this technique. I think it's cool. It adds a lot of dimension. Okay, so for this, bring your trimmer in and let's do a few cuts here. So this piece here, this is the piece, and see this little, I'm calling this a lake. Turn that upside down, okay? Because we're going to cut this to 4 1/4 inches wide. Okay? Save this. Okay, so we're going to use this. And now our piece of gray granite here, let's cut that to be 4 1/4 inches wide. All right. And now we're going to do a couple things with this piece. Grab yourself, you could use the straight edge of your trimmer, you could use a ruler, but I am going to tear some of this off so that I have a nice torn edge, okay? And so I'm just giving myself, you know, about so much there. You have plenty of paper here, don't worry. Okay, so rip that off. And now we have a deckled edge that is still straight, okay? And let's cut this. You just chop it in 2 pieces. It doesn't really even matter where, okay? You're just cutting it down the middle because we're gonna put one on the bottom and one on the top. And with this piece here, we're gonna do the same thing we just did, only we're not gonna be quite as generous on our bottom edge here when we're tearing it away. So I'm just gonna kind of take off about, I don't know, an 1/8 here, but just kind of get this started. Okay, it's a little more than an 1/8, but it's not quite a 1/4. This being paper tears just a little bit easier than the cardstock. So we can kind of, I just didn't want to take too much of that designer series paper away. But now you can see we've got some cool, we've got the torn layers here, and on top we'll have the straight layers, okay? And that's our card base. So if you look close here, this one is straight, and then this one is torn and torn, okay? But while we have the trimmer out, no, we'll come back to the trimmer, but save this piece because we're gonna be making the beads with that, okay? Okay, so let's stamp this just the way we did that first piece. And so if you look at our bear here, he is sitting in more puddles or whatever we want to call them, you know, rocks or whatever, and some definite of the little flowering, I don't know if they're weeds, wildlife, wild plants. I'm using gray granite and old olive. Old olive for the, let's just call this the floor. Okay, so we're just gonna ground it. So a little bit here, ink it up, stamp it off, and we're gonna turn it, okay? Just kind of like so. And I actually did a little bit up in here too. Okay, so maybe this way. And then I'm gonna turn it and I'm gonna stamp off the page. Just like that. We're just adding in some more nature. That was gray granite. Okay, now I'm gonna add in some definite, you know, little clusters of these cute blooming wildflowers. Okay, and even a little bit down in here. Just have some fun. And that will be our stamping on this piece. Now we are going to bring in the bear one more time. Again, I have mine on the Stamparatus, and I'm going to stamp this one with Evening Evergreen. Okay. Oh, your dog's at the groomer. It's so nice to get a nice fresh clean doggy back, or to see them when they're all groomed. Catch you later, Jacqueline. Okay, so Evening Evergreen for the bear. And paper-wise, let's go to another piece. So this piece here, it's green, blue, and a little bit of papaya and yellows down here. The back is all papaya. So we're gonna stamp on this side, okay? So I'm gonna ink that up in Evening Evergreen. Let's remove our silicone craft mat. We're gonna come back to this on our third card, so don't put that away. But do put your paper down here, and I'm gonna do this corner because I like this corner. Cover up, so I can tell where I need to put the paper. I'm just gonna cover up that image of the bear, and then I know that I'll be stamping on him, on my paper, in the right spot. But this bear here is Night of Navy, so we need to clean that up. So use your chamois, give it a clean. My hands and my chamois were so dirty after designing all of these. Oh, one of the puppies is having puppy dreams. It's yiping, but it's asleep. Okay, so that was Evening Evergreen, and I'm just gonna give it a nice press into this designer series paper. Ooh, see, I think it's cool. Look how I have some light spots. And I didn't even have to color or anything. It was all done for me. Okay, I'm closing Evening Evergreen before I get in trouble here. Okay, and we will fussy cut this bear. The bears. And actually, you know what? While we're here, we're going to do one more image and we'll fussy cut all at one time. So let's stamp the wolf. Is this a wolf? We're gonna stamp this in a little bit of gray granite. So I'm gonna ink it entirely up in gray granite. Okay, and I think last time I did it in gray granite and in, where did I put my cleaner? Here it is. In gray granite and navy. And we could do navy again, or you could do, yeah, let's do navy again, just to tie it into the greeting. So, but let me give it a clean because it's got a lot of navy on it. And I don't want to get that in my gray granite pad. So ink it entirely up in gray granite. And you know what? I've changed my mind. We're going to do Night of Navy, but we're also going to do a little bit of Evening Evergreen. Okay. So tap the one side, the one bottom corner with Night of Navy. Tap the other corner over here with Evening Evergreen. Okay. And then go ahead and just kind of blend this up. Beautiful. Give a huff on it. And I'm just going to stamp it right up in there. Cool. Cool, cool. Okay, so we're going to cut those out. All right. The topic of discussion during this fussy cut will be summer vacation. Do you guys have vacation plans coming up? Are you headed anywhere? I need to go to San Jose. I have to deliver Lolo. That's one of our dogs under guardianship. I need to take her home so I can go to San Jose for that. I'm just not quite sure when. And it's hard to know because we haven't sold all the puppies here. And I know that two of them, one's not leaving until like the end of June and the other's not leaving until July 3rd. So anyhow, sometime after that. But I also need to head to Utah for a wedding. A wedding on the 15th. And my son, Nicholas, he's like, I want to go to Lagoon. And if you don't know what Lagoon is close to Salt Lake, but it's an old amusement park that has some pretty cool roller coasters there. His favorite roller coaster, it's called the Cannibal. Linda Romer, have you been on the Cannibal? I have. It's pretty fun. Okay, so there's my wolf for the inside. And here is the bear. The bear is coming. Lagoon is fun. Sure, you've been to Lagoon, huh? We used to go there a lot when I was a young kid. And when I was young, they had a fun house. I miss the fun house. The fun house was cool. Had all these crazy slides. And just, you know, it was the quintessential fun house. It's too bad it's not there anymore. So Linda Romer says, heck no, you've not been on the Cannibal? It's pretty freaky. I mean, it's not just a steep drop. It's like it inverts you. It's crazy. And instead of like a high hill that, you know, the like a train, it's not a train. It's kind of like a, I don't know. I don't want to say a single car, but it's smaller, but you go up an elevator. It takes your car up an elevator and then it drops you. So you don't go up a steep hill. But it drops you and then you invert. You're not a fan of roller coasters. My favorite roller coaster of all time is the Giant Dipper at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. It's such a fun roller coaster in my opinion. It just makes me laugh every time I ride it. So then, are you a roller coaster, any of you? Do you love them or hate them? I don't like rides that go around and around and around and around in the same, like in a circle. Ugh. No thanks. I will pass on those. Your grandkids love all the scary rides at Lagoon. Cool. You like the old white one at Lagoon? Ugh. I think that one hurts. It's not like the wood roller coaster at the boardwalk. Okay. There's our bear for sure. Jolinda, you like Drop Zone. You would like the cannonball. The cannibal is what it's called. Okay, so let's assemble this. Get things moving along here. Since we have our elements. The last element that I kind of neglected is in your Use It Up kit, you have a pale papaya. So this is cut with another one of the shapes from the He's All That. So, yeah, I forgot to show those, but that's this piece right here in the All That set. So you could use any label that you have or want to use, okay? So I'm gonna use that one for the inside. But let's glue these first to our, so I'm just gonna throw a little adhesive here. So this is my torn edge, and I'm gonna have, you know, like about a little more, like 5/8 of an inch show here. Okay, and then same thing on the top. Okay, and I'm gonna make this one smaller just to give it a little bit more interest. I don't want them all the same size. Okay, the wooden one at Great America. Oh, so the last time I rode that roller coaster, the wood one at Great America, it's like they were trying to do a classic roller coaster. Anyways, the last time I rode that, Logan was about, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks old. And so I was nursing him, and I just was in sheer agony. I just was like, this ride can't stop soon enough. I was just clutching my upper half big time. Super uncomfortable. And I've not been on it since. I'm not interested. But you're right, it's too herky-jerky. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of send this up towards the top. I've left a tiny little border, okay, so that I have a little bit of that showing. And I'm just gonna bring, depending, I don't want too much, but I'm just gonna kind of start this and use my fingernail to emphasize or just, show off this little torn edge a little bit here. Okay. That one, and I'm going to do the same thing with this torn edge. It's just kind of, except I get going and then I can't stay underneath it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so just a little extra texture right there. California Screamin' at Disneyland is awesome. I love the way you take off in that one. It's not called that anymore, though. What do they call it? It's based on the Incredibles. Okay, so this guy is going to go on right about there with dimensionals. Okay, so throw some dimensionals on there. Okay, there is, if you have been to Animal Kingdom at Disney World, there is a roller coaster there called Mount Everest. It's just called Everest. Oh, such an awesome roller coaster. In fact, To date, it's the most expensive roller coaster built anywhere in the world. Okay, so he's going to go right in there. But before I put him there, I'm going to stamp my greeting in navy. And I'm going to put sending birthday wishes on this card. Okay, so that's this image here. And Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh, yes. Yeah. So Guardians of the Galaxy is at California Adventure. That is its name now. It was Tower of Terror, but they can't call it that there at California Adventure. For some reason, Hollywood Studios can still call theirs Tower of Terror. Okay, so this is going to come right in here, but I don't want my bear in the way. So there is sending birthday wishes. Beautiful. We put the bear on. Yeah, something to do with the Hollywood, some hotel or something. It infringed on something, so they had to change the name. Oh, I'm missing a puddle or a floor. So if you look at this one here, I stamped and then I added that there. So grab your piece here. And I think I'm going to use this side this time. So this is the yellowy piece, but let's flip it over to this side. I want to tie a little bit more blue into this, but I did stamp that I fussy cut that out. Again, in gray granite. And I think I'm just going to kind of pick up the coloring right in here. Okay? Has a little bit of a more bluish color right there. And I want to pull that blue into this blue right up in here. Up in here. Okay. All right, so let's cut that out. I think one of my favorite things at California Adventure, though, is Cars Land. That is such a cool little area. All of the touches in there, the clever decor touches. So fun. Radiator Springs, that's what it is. Okay, coming around the edge here. Okay, I've just got to cut this off. It's in the way. Cars Land is awesome. It is. It's super cute. So at Hollywood Studios in Florida, that Hollywood Studios is, there are some definite similarities to California Adventure. Definite differences, though. But it's in Florida, that's where Star Wars is at Hollywood Studios, not at Magic Kingdom. But they also have, instead of Cars Land there, they have Toy Story. And oh man, it's so cute. You have all these like super oversized Tinker Toys and Toy Soldiers and all of the, you know, all of the toys that are in Toy Story, the movie. So it's just really cool. Fun area. Okay, so this is just going to kind of set up in here and give us even more decor and dimension. Was Hollywood Studios originally called MGM? No, it is a Disney property and always has been a Disney property. Of course, I said no too soon. I don't know, it might have been. I've only ever heard it as Hollywood Studios. It's a cool place. It's very, it's fun. It's kind of nice and picturesque. Okay, so there's that. And I did actually give this a wisp of Wink Stella. And I actually Wink Stella'd the bear. Even though it's a guy card, I'm going to do it. Because it adds just a little bit of, you know, just kind of, you're like, hey, It adds a little visual interest, I think. Okay, so those two pieces get a little bit of wink. Okay, in your Use It Up kit, we are using up, this is the fan baker's twine. So it had the evening evergreen, the night of navy, and then it had the white and red. So MGM Studios was at Disney World way back in the 1990s, I think. MGM Studios. Well, Hollywood Studios, I don't know it's that old. It's not very old. It's, I don't know how old it is. Of all of the places, of the 4 main amusement parks there in Florida, it's the newest. So, okay. So I'm just going to tie some of this in a knot here. It might have been. Somebody needs to look it up. Might have been. So I'm tying this in a knot. Okay. And save this. We'll use that on the last card. And slide this over to the left. Yeah, that'd be interesting. MGM, is MGM part of, well, Disney owns just about everything. Okay, so now for the beads. The beads. And I think I might just make one of these for time's sake, but I'll show you how I did it. So you're going to take your piece of paper here and just cut like a wedge. And what I mean by a wedge is instead of a straight little strip, you're going to flare it so that it's wide at one end and skinny at the other, okay? And you're gonna need 2 of those because we're making 2 beads, okay? So cut 2. Okay, now take your bone folder and give it a curl, okay? Just get it started there. Curl both ends. That way it'll be easy to roll for you. Okay, this is going to be interesting without glue. We are going to add some tape runner there and bring your card in place here. And now the hardest thing is getting it started. Once you get it started, it's pretty easy. But you're just going to kind of, you know, attach it to your baker's twine here and just kind of get that going, just kind of fold it over, and then you're just going to roll it on itself, okay? Like I say, the hardest thing is to get it going, and then it just rolls beautifully. Okay, so trivia about Disney World is Animal Kingdom started because they had a zoo on the lake that's in front of Disney, in front of like Magic Kingdom, and in that lake, I think it's called Bay Lake, they had an island that had, you know, a zoo on it. Well, they've closed the zoo and they opened up a new park, and that became Animal Kingdom. Okay, so get this rolling. And then once you get it rolling, you just kind of roll it through your fingers. Come on, go, 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 go. It's flat. It's going flat on me. But you're just going to get it rolling. There we go. The trick to this is not being on camera, 1. And for it to be cut in a wedge. And you're going to start with the fat end and then roll it up. Good thing we're only making one and not doing the other one live here. There we go. Maybe, maybe not. You get the idea, right? I'm about to give up. And it's going to fall off. Anyway, you're going to roll the whole thing up, and I'll just show you on this one. just roll it up, and then you can just kind of roll it in your fingers to tighten it. And it makes a little, helps if I actually show it. You're just gonna roll it in your fingers and it will tighten up, and there it will be. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do that later because I don't wanna sit here and fumble with it right now because I'm not being successful. So, but you can do it, I promise. Anyways, that's how I did it, okay? Yes, I do remember when they had, yeah. I think there's some cool things at Disneyland that are not at Disney World. In that there's a lot more at the frontier stuff. Okay, so moving right along here. Let's stamp the inside of this card. So to a great guy, we're gonna do that off to the left side again because it kind of works with the wolf like we did. Okay. Oh, no, for all the great things you do. No, we want the to a great guy. Ta-da! And we're gonna stamp it, like I say, off to the left, just a little bit. And then we're gonna stamp the floor, the ground cover image in gray granite. And it looks like I did it quite a few times, if you look at that, okay? I'm gonna do it kind of right about there where I know this is going to land. So we'll do one there, and I'm gonna flip it and do another one. And we'll do, kind of stagger it, and we'll get another one in here. Just having some fun with that to give us a little bit of a landing for all of this. Rather than just putting that label in there. You could, but if we can add a little bit more, why not? Okay. Add that right there. And I'm going to put dimensionals on the bottom here, just like that first card, and then glue the top of this. Can't believe I didn't bring a thing of glue with me. Okay. And look, my ground isn't showing very much, so before I stick that on, I'm going to do it one more time, which is what I did originally. But I'm going to huff on this because I don't want super, super dark. Okay. There we go. Yeah, I like that better. A little bit more shows. Not a lot, but a little bit. Cool. And there you have it. There is our second card. I think I need to switch out my piece of paper. I will finish my beads later, for sure, for sure. So there's the one with the beads. Now this one did get a little bit of that speckle action. I say, here we are, we're done. And then I'm looking at my original. So give your gray granite a squeeze. And just do a little. Okay, right there, like that. I don't know if you can see. See, it's got a little action right in there and right down in here, a little bit. It just, you know, it adds a little something, something, especially where there isn't something stamped. So there is the second card finished. Any questions on what we did here? Okay. Speak now. Okay, so our last card, let me bring this one into view. I love this last card. You are going to need the, let me get this out of here. You are going to need that piece of leftover green baker's twine. And the last thing in there, you're going to need that label, also from He's the Man Sweet, from All That Dies. Okay, and you do have a ladybug, but use it on something. I didn't use it on anything in this class, but anyhow, let me find the card. Here's the card. So this is going to be an evening evergreen side fold portrait. You are going to need this piece of paper. If you remember, we pulled it out at the beginning. It's got the dual colored greens on the back. Okay, so the card we're gonna do is this one right here. And this time we are going to feature one of our reverse images on the front of a card, okay? So we've got the two bears. Okay, so let's just prep our piece here. So we're going to cut that really narrow cut again. So that 4 3/16. Okay, so if this is my piece, I'm gonna turn it so that the Blackberry Bliss is on top. And I'm gonna do 4 3/16. And this time I've checked and made sure that I am in the right spot. Okay, save that, it's going on the inside. And we're gonna rotate this 90 degrees and we're gonna do 4 7/16. So that's one little tick mark in, okay, from the 1/2 inch mark or the 1/4 inch mark. Okay, so here is our front. Whoops, we should trim this one as well. We're gonna trim this one to the 5 and the 7/16 again, so just inside. Okay, so taking a little bit of that Blackberry Bliss off. All right, so that way these match up, okay? All right, so this will glue onto here, but before we glue it, we'll stamp it first. So let me bring the original in so we can see what we are stamping. Okay, take that out for just a sec. Again, setting up the scene just the way we have been, using the floor image and gray granite. Now, if you don't have gray granite, you could easily use crumb cake, Sahara sand, smoky slate. Might be a little bit too intense, might be a little too cool. But I'm gonna do one right here and then add another one. I've just rotated it like so. And then we'll do the same thing here. I'm gonna do and rotate that and have a little bit of that action going. And same deal, let's do the grass, the blooming grasses, or whatever this is. And you know what? On my original, I did it in olive. I think I'm gonna do it in blackberry this time. You choose, it doesn't really matter. I just wanna kind of vary this one a little bit. Okay, but I don't know that I wanna do it in full strength blackberry. So I'm going to stamp off on my scratch paper here. And yeah, I like that, okay? Full strength might be just a little bit too much. So stamp that off, okay? And we'll just go here, give a huff on it, maybe right there. Yeah, pretty. The nice thing about making a second one is you get to make some slight little edits. Okay, that's all I'm gonna do on the background. Keep your Blackberry Bliss handy because we're gonna use that. We are going to bring in your silicone craft mat again. You're gonna need to give it a clean, okay? And bring in your Stamparatus. Okay, so just give that a quick clean. Take that away. And we'll put this back in the corner of the Stamparatus. I was gonna call it the Stamp-a-majig, not a Stamp-a-majig. Okay, let's put that in the corner. And we'll hold it down so it doesn't wiggle. Okay, and ink this up with Blackberry Bliss. Ink the bear with Blackberry Bliss. Okay, and bring in, we're gonna use one of our designer series papers here to stamp on. So this time, what I want to do is I'm gonna stamp on the front side of this paper here. So it really doesn't matter which one you use, but I kind of like the colors right in here for what we're doing. So let's see, I'm going to just do a quick little imprint. So the bear is in the exact same place as before, but I do want to clean that. Okay, now I know where the bear is. Okay, so I'm just trying to plan this, how I'm going to stamp it, because I want to catch this. All right, so ink it up because I stamped some off. And stamp your image really, really well. Okay. Now, it's pretty juicy on there. I don't think I needed to huff, but I just did. Cover up the whole bear with your paper there. Give it a good, I mean, really give it, don't move your paper, whatever you do, but do give it a really firm rub. And then pull that print. Mine's a little bit blotchy this time. And I wonder if that's because I have, my image was wet. Does that make sense? And so because it wasn't dry enough, can you see it's not as crisp as that one. So I'm gonna redo it, and I'm just gonna redo it on this back side, okay? But it means I'm gonna clean it just a little bit, but I'm gonna wipe it off with a piece of scratch paper. So I think I was just getting too much, it just was too moist with that and my hot air, because I did huff on it. Okay, so really get it dry. All right, it's a learning curve here. Nice thing is you'll have plenty of paper afterwards to still stamp other images. Okay. Dry that just a little bit. Okay, this time I'm gonna paper down this direction. We're gonna have a bear going this way. Oops, I gotta go just eke it that way. Okay. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is gonna be the front bear. I was not supposed to put my paper down yet. Okay, well that we're gonna use, because we do have one facing this direction. Okay, so let's cut this out. I'll cut that out in a minute. Grab another piece of paper. So I'm gonna grab this. This is where this is gonna go, okay? Was supposed to stamp on the silicone mat. Okay, ink it up. I just dropped the ink pad on the thing there. Okay, so stamp your silicone mat. Bring it better into view. Open this up. Now I'm going to put the yellow side of this down because I don't want, well, that could be cool too, right in there. What's my color? Yeah, you decide what you want to do. I think I am going to do that side. I'm going to put them right there in the middle. Okay. Give it a good rub. That was too funny. What is she doing? Okay, so hopefully this one is better. Yes. Oh, much better. Here's the original one. Okay. So do you see the difference? Okay. So yeah, my stamp image was too wet from the chamois. So you just need to make sure that you've got a good crisp image. And it's not going to be as crisp as the, as you know, doing it. I'll just kind of hold them both up here. Hopefully you can see. So here's, you know, stamping, and then there's the second generation. So the reverse image. So this is definitely crisper, but this is much better than that icky one. Okay. So just experiment. The nice thing is there's a back side to paper, right? Okay, so just cut these two cuties out. First generation, yeah. Yeah, the first generation definitely is better than the second reverse generation stamping. But the great thing is we have the option to reverse it, which is fun because this is such a cool image. It's kind of like if you remember in that Waves of the Ocean set, that wave image, you're like, oh, that's a cool look. And it's same thing with this. It's just kind of a nice grand image. And so you have to use it. But is it in the distance? What do you mean, Jolinda? It is going to be set back. I did put the second generation stamped one. The reverse image is going to be behind, if that's what you mean. So this one is in back. So I am putting the one in front, you know, is more in focus, so to say. This guy's in the background. Gives distance, that's right. Okay, so this is our foreground bear. And these aren't too bad to fussy cut. Okay. So here's our foreground bear. And now the background. Yep, the back one should be less in focus. Less in focus, that's correct. So Jolinda, can you see? Are you seeing with one eye? Or are you just listening? Since you're here and commenting, it must have gone well. She had a little eye procedure this morning. Working with one eye only. Okay, Popeye. Okay, just kind of rough cutting through here to get rid of this dangling piece. Cut that off. Just listening. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad you're here. I was thinking about you this morning. Okay. Get this little guy trimmed his nose. Okay, right here between his feet. And then we'll glue this all together. So on this one, when I'm going to mount this bear that's in the background, he is going to be, I'm going to do the same thing I did on our first card, and that is his head. I'm going to put dimensionals under his head and his back, but under his feet where the label is that you can see here, I'm going to glue that section down. That way it kind of saves me on some bulk, and it creates a little dimension, almost like he's turning towards us in a way. Okay, so let's bring in our pieces here. Here's my card base and my paper that we're going to mount. I had to open the card to make sure it was going the right way. The other day, I made a card in a live, and I'm like, oh, that's nice. I had built it upside down. Oh boy, it's a good thing we're nearing the end of this Use It Up class, because one of the puppies sitting next to me has done a little number in their pen, and it stinks. Yucky. Okay, there is that base, okay? And so let's put the bears on. Here they are. So like I say, I'm gonna put a couple dimensionals up here on his head and back, but I'm going to glue the rest. Okay, which one of you guys made it stink? Seriously. Gross. Okay, peel these or it's never going to work, right? So he's just going to kind of come right up in here. And that's perfect and ready for our label that we'll put there. And so let's get this one prepped and ready with some dimensionals. Well, I'm gonna do minis on his feet here. Mini, and a mini, and a mini, and one for good luck. The sun was up before you left at 5:45. That is crazy. What's crazy here is it's light until past 10 o'clock. It's insane. Okay, so he's going to just come down in here, but I'm not gonna entirely stick him down just yet. I'm gonna hold on to him so that we can get our label ready first, because that's gonna need to go down. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing we did earlier, and that is to give him a little bit, or him, this label, a little bit of depth by adding some ink here. And so just come from off the page and lightly blend around the edges. Okay, what it will do is kind of leave the middle of this label a little bit lighter, which is nice because then the greeting kind of, it frames the greeting even more than just being on the label there. Okay, so there's a little bit of sponging or blending brushing. And now let's hit this with a little bit of embossing buddy. And then we'll use Versamark to stamp for all the great things you do. Here's the image, okay? So I'm using Versamark on this, and I am gonna stamp it up towards the top. It looked very wrong for a minute. Okay, hold on. Oh, are you putting dimensionals on the right side? So that's a good question. I was looking at that too. Remember, this is the bear that was blotchy and we restamped. There's the good one. I know, I was like, whoa, what? But good eye, Denise, good eye. Because it did look wrong there for a second. Okay, so this is gonna dunk in white embossing powder. Okay, give that a flick. We don't want that excess. All right, and we'll heat set this with our heat tool. And I like to bring in another implement to hold it in place so it doesn't blow away. Wait a minute. My 4 looks terrible. Hold on. See if we can catch more of that. Oh yeah, that's better. The F and the R weren't entirely there. Oh, hold on. I wiped off the S. Boy. My batting average is pretty bad right now. Hold on, I'm trying to get a little bit, there we go. Okay, now are all the letters there? Yes. Ah, there we have it. Magic. Okay, set that aside. Okay, so this is getting dimensionals once it's no longer tacky and it's set up enough. Okay, pull those off. And before we set this down, so we know it's gonna go right about here, so I want my twine to kind of come up and loop through here. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of Seal Plus right here in between his front and back paws. And then I'm gonna take my leftovers here and tie a big loopy bow. And it's going to attach right there and sit under that label. Okay, so just kind of right there. Hold it in place long enough to get in here, and then really set it in place right like so. Cool. Okay, this end needs a little bit of a trim, and this one even less, but just to clean up the ends. Now we can come back in with the bear that I have lost. Lovely. Anybody see where I put it? Okay, the bear goes right here, but I've lost the bear. I flipped it to show you the back side, and now I don't know what I did with it. Look where it was. Stuck to the bottom of the embossing powder. Good thing I thought of that, because I never would have looked there. Okay, so he is just going to kind of set in here, like so. Okay, and I'm going to splatter the whole thing with some Wink. You can flick it or, oh man! Okay, remember I said don't prime your Wink of Stella on top of your project. That's why. Shoot, Queen. Okay, well, we're just spreading it all around on this bear. Disaster averted. Okay. Kind of. Okay. Well, interesting. So I don't think it needs any more Wink of Stella. I didn't want that much on there. Okay. Craziness. Okay. And I do have a little bit of work we're going to do on the inside. And on my original, so our extra piece that we have right here that kind of continues this story coming across, I had it right here, but I think I'm going to put it over here. And let me show you why. First, let's stamp it, because I'm going to do one more of those reverse image bears in here. But let's stamp this piece, and then we'll stamp the reverse image bear. So, gray granite. Okay, just a little bit of that. And give a reverse image of it right there. And we did the Blackberry Bliss grasses, right? But we stamped off. So I'm just kind of repeating some of that. These elements right in here. Okay, that's plenty. If you're thinking, oh, maybe it needs more, stop right there. That's where you should stop. Okay, so I had it over here, and I could have the bear peeking out, or we could have the bear here, this pocket over here, and have the bear peeking out. So we could reverse image, or we could do the regular. So let's just do the regular image here. And to do this is how lazy I was. I didn't want to take it off of the Stamparatus. So let me show you what I did, because I wanted the bear to be down here, peeking out of my pocket. But I'm like, oh, it's too high. Hey! You stop! Oh man, puppy fight. That was mean. And you know what? It's the littlest one. She's a pistol. Okay, so I'm going to take this Blackberry off, because I'm going to do it in evergreen. Take this out of here. We don't need that. Bring in evergreen. Okay, and this will be the last little bit. Okay, I'm just going to remove these magnets for a second here. Now, like I said, I was too lazy to pull this, but if you take your Stamparatus, and I'm just going to walk it down, so I took it, see how it's normally up here? I just took it down a hinge so that it would be low enough for me to be able to stamp it in the right spot. Okay, so to know exactly where it's going, ink it up and give it a stamp. And so now we know it's going to be way down here, right? Okay, let me hold it in place. So I want that bear in just the right spot. So I'm going to make a pocket here, and have it immersing, is that the word I'm looking for? Have it like walking out of the pocket. So I want it to be like right about here. Okay. And now we'll hold this on. And this, and is that gonna be far? Yeah, it's far enough. Okay, and we'll ink it up in Evening Evergreen, so hopefully you can see that. It's over here on the side. And we'll get that bear. Cool. I like that tone on tone. And then this will go right there. So now it's peeking through. It's coming out of that pocket, so to say. It's not coming out, but you see it from behind the pocket. Okay, so let me move this. There we have it. And now we'll glue this as a pocket so you can tuck something in. Now, if you wanted, you could reverse image and put the pocket over here, but I like him so much as the crisp, clean image that I wanted to do it over here. So now this piece continues. So see the lines just kind of continue right into this piece right here. So there you have it. Kind of cool, kind of pretty, kind of like overdone. I might have to restamp this bear because he's like so wet, it's like crinkled and sunk in. So anyhow, I just wanted to flick it. But lesson learned, don't prime your Wink of Stella over your project because you saw me just blow it right there. Okay, so then here is the front, here is the inside of this cool two bears on one card. I hope you like it. I think it was pretty cool. Pretty fun to take your images and to make that reverse image there. So that is our Use It Up class for June. We have 3 cool cards here. We bring in the other one with the beads. So we have the evergreen and the beads and the pre-inking the stamp folder, and we have the dual bears, and then we have the kickstand card. There you have it. Hope you have done a little stamping for yourself, or that you might try looking at them and kind of creating your own layouts, but using up this cool On the Horizons paper. Any questions, give a holler. If not, I will catch you back here in a week for our Honeybee Home pickup class. I'll see you then, folks. Have a good one. Bye-bye.